Hey, welcome to BreitWerks. What are you looking at? This is a Scavenge pump for the turbocharger on, this one's a 1986 930 turbo. So we've got her apart, and that's actually a rubber seal, believe it or not. This little thing in here is a rubber seal. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the whole thing apart, get it all cleaned up, and bead blast it so that everything will work properly and we won't have any of this old contaminant. You know, this is usually pretty hot oil that's coming through here, so there's a lot of opportunity for coking of the oil. So we're gonna get everything cleaned up, and as we go, I'll show you anything cool. All right, we got everything cleaned up and we are ready for reassembly. So that's the backing plate, and then in here, so we had to wait for parts. So it took a while for parts to come in. So this O-ring that sits in here, we had to get that from Porsche. That took a minute to show up. But whatever was in there was certainly not an O-ring. It was like somebody had filled it with plumber's putty. Maybe that's why it was leaking so badly, or weeping. But we did get the radial seal in, and I pressed that in because YouTube's not the place to talk about those types of things. Radial seals are very touchy. Plus, I put the little drive pin back in. So now that we've got this all back together, or ready to go back together, we're going to put some assembly grease on that gear. And we've already test fit it. So the challenge is there's no hole in the bottom to release the air that's going to get trapped in where the surface where this rides. So as you press it in, it'll pop back out, and then you have to set it back down. But you want to make sure there's a little lubrication in there. So we're going to get on with it. We'll put this little O-ring in. We'll clean that hole out again, and we'll go from there. We'll be back. So one other thing to be cautious of as you're putting these things back together, you know, a lot of times when we take them apart, we put them back together the exact same way. But I just checked the PET, and these two screws, or these two bolts, actually use spring washers, all right, little wavies. And what came out were flat washers. So I almost put these guys, you know, new flat washers in. But then I checked PET and I said, yeah, there's got to be a locking mechanism somehow. And PET says, no, and that's the Porsche parts diagram. It says, no, use wavies. So we've got this guy back together. We've got his O-ring inside of him. I don't want to spin them just yet until we torque all of these fasteners down. But yeah, something to keep an eye on when you're fixing things or when you're restoring things. Somebody's probably been in there before. So double check your parts diagram, double check what you took apart, and you know, you got to make your own decision what you want to do. All right, we're gonna figure out the orientation to put this guy back on here and wrap this up. All right, there we have it. Everything's been torqued down, 10 Newton meters on the 5 fasteners. And then we've got the output torqued down, and we've preloaded our input with the correct washers. So let's check it out. If we turn it over, spin this guy here. Oh, look at how sweet that is. You can hear a little gurgling sound inside. So we now have a completely restored Scavenge pump with the correct O-ring in it, as opposed to the plumber's putty that was in there. So we're going to call that good. And hey, thanks for watching. Check us out at BreitWerks.com and have a fantastic day.